biggest recession indicator to me right now is how people react when they find out somebody they know live at home with their family. Because back in the day, you were getting roasted. If you were in your 20s, early 30s, and you lived at home, you were getting cooked. If you watch them old movies, they be telling them, oh, you live at home with your mom, you're a loser, you're not gonna get dates, you need to grow up, you need to become an adult. People are not moving like that anymore. You find out someone lives at home with their family in today's world, you like, so bro, you telling me that you don't pay rent and you got a good relationship with your parents? How did you do it? like, like people that turn living at home from being broke to, oh, I'm stacking. Like, bro, we live in the opposite day. The economy is cooked. It's cooked.
You gotta love this though, and this is the reason why a lot of the other communities, other than the black folks, have moved up. The Latinos, they all live together. The Asians all live together. The Persians, the Armenians, they all live together until they figure out, until they have the money to move out. Okay. Biggest one of, now I won't say it's a mistake, but when I was younger, luckily I had a scholarship. I played at different places in college and stuff. That was cool. But I know I was one of those kids growing up like I gotta have my own, gotta have my own, gotta have my own. And once you get your own, you see how much expensive everything is. I love the fact that you got people living at home and getting themselves together first before they jump out in this world. Because once you jump out, it's ridiculous. So the flex now is staying home and stacking your bread and moving with a strategy. See, with our community, you know, what we see on social media, we see parents saying, "Oh, I can't wait till my kid turn 18 so he out the house or she out the house." That's not what you're supposed to do. They're supposed to stay in the house. Because look, people make bad decisions because of money. Your son gonna go out there at 18, gonna have no skill, no money. What he gonna do? Rob, steal, kill, sell drugs. Your daughter, she go out there with no education, no money. What she gonna do? Be a hoe, sleep with different men, be used and abused because she ain't got no money. She just having sex with men for money. So as you, if you know that, why would you put your kids in that situation? You keep them at home until they're ready to move out, or you help them buy their first home. This is what the Latino community does. This is what the Asian community. This is what all the other communities do. But as the black community, we don't do that. We need to start setting our kids up and say, yes, you can live with me. Yes, stay here. There's no point of you going from here into debt. We put our kids into debt. That's the reason why they make bad decisions. So stay here. If you're trying to be a firefighter, a police officer, you're trying to be a welder, you're trying to be a trucker, you trying to work, you trying to go to school. The last thing I want you to worry about is where you're gonna live and how you're gonna eat. Stay here with us. That's the biggest flex, and that's smart with this generation. That's what they doing. They see shit's expensive. I'm gonna go into debt trying to live a single life. There's nothing wrong with staying at home and getting your life together. There's some people that stay at home today in their 30s. I want to make sure I'm set up before I go. I know I would have made, if I wasn't playing basketball. That's the only reason why I left the house. But if I wasn't playing basketball, I know I would have made that mistake and try to rush to get out. But the smartest thing is, man, stay home. Stay home with your parents, man. Help out around the house, but pursue your dreams and do everything while you have that solid foundation. But we as a black community got to stop saying my kid turned 18 and out, because that's why our kids are fucked up today. It's because of that energy. We pushing them out. Well, we need to say, no, you stay here with me. You want to get a house, so I'm gonna get some money for together. I'm gonna buy you that house. I'm gonna get you your down payment. Let's build it together. That's the reason why the black community is so far behind, is because we so rushing to be independent, but then when we're trying to be independent, we go crashing down. And then what's the crazy part is you become independent, you start making money, and then your parents want money from you. That's not how it's supposed to work. Parents should be giving money to their kids, not asking money from their kids. This is why we got to do things the right way. This is why we got to be a family, a nuclear family, and say, baby girl, son, stay in the house. You're not ready to go yet. Yes, we got some rules, but you still an adult. We're going to make sure you good, but stay here. This is your home. Don't waste your money. I live in LA, man. You can't even find a decent place for $2,500 a week. I mean, $2,500 a month. But how much money do you got to find as a young kid, male or female, to live in a decent place with safe places in LA? 3,000, 4,000. There's no way that a kid that's 18 can afford that. See what I'm saying? So just because they're 18, that doesn't make them an adult. An adult is somebody that can afford their life without their parents' help. So as parents, especially black parents, we got to start looking at a different communities and seeing how they succeed. They succeed because the kids are staying home. They succeed because the kids are working, getting themselves together, but the kid is not worrying about how am I going to eat? How do I going to keep the lights on? You see what I'm saying? They're going through that and saying that I can't wait to get out the house. Yes, we take care of our kids, but we don't force our kids out the house. We don't be so rude to our kids they want to leave us. But look at the different communities, man. It's very true. Look at the black community. Look how messed up we are. Look how we want to kick our kids out. I'm not saying all. I would say a good percentage, though, at least 85, 90%. But now, look at the Asian community. They've been doing this for years. Look at the Latino community. Look at the Armenians. Look at the Persians. Look how they roll. They roll all together. They in the same house. They not in a rush until they make a lot of money. Now you can go, you get married, boom. But a lot of y'all in our community, we kicking our kids out because maybe you had that kid young. Maybe you couldn't wait till they get out the house. Maybe you trying to live your second life. You trying to be back in the club and chasing, whatever you trying to chase. But what you're doing is you're damaging your kid and you're putting your kid out of debt. Your kid hasn't learned life yet at 18. I could tell you luckily I went to college, I had a scholarship, but I didn't know life still. I was still in debt and I had a scholarship. Make it make sense. You see what I'm saying? I had a scholarship with, doing dumb stuff. So you have to understand that as black adults, we have to make sure we keep our babies home. There's no guarantee age where we have to kick them out and say, go learn life. No, you living here. No matter what, you're going to live here until you get yourself together, especially if you got daughters. Because what happened is that's the reason why they turn into hoes. It's because they work, they can't afford their lifestyle, and they find a man that said, I'll give you everything you want, but this is what you got to do. Now you're selling your vagina just so you can live the life that you kind of want to live because you're up against the wall because you can't afford how you living. So how do you stop these young girls from becoming hoes? You keep them in the house. You say you living here. You don't kick them out. You don't force them out. Nah, baby, you gonna live here. I got you. Don't worry about it. Because that's how a lot of these women become hoes. It's because they get kicked out by their parents and they trying to survive. So how do they survive? They sell their vagina. That's what they do. They find a man that can give them money and they know what it is. This is why you got women on Figueroa Street being prostitutes. It's because their parents kicked them out or they had no parents. So all this stuff, we look at our community. Why is our community so I'm not saying the whole community, but why do we see a lot of our community like this? It comes from home. It comes from the fathers. It comes from the parents. It comes from creating that foundation. It comes from kicking our kids out too early and they're not ready for life. So let's just not kick them out. Let's just keep them in the household because then we can still culture them. Then we can still help them. Then we can still teach them life after 18. So maybe they need 5 to 10 years after they turn 18 to really learn and see what life is all about instead of just being thrown out there to the wolves. But this is why you got a lot of hoe-ass women because they out there, they struggling, they want to live a life, and they found a man that's willing to give them whatever they want, but what he wants out of her is her vagina. This is why you have a lot of young black men going to jail because they jump out there, they're not going to education, they're not trying to get a job, or they can't get a job. Their family done kicked them out. So what do? I gotta hustle. I gotta sell drugs. I gotta steal. And then what happens? They get in jail or they get shot by the police. So it's a pretty thing when you look at it, pretty simple thing when you look at it. Keep the kids at home until they're ready to leave the nest. It's pretty simple. Keep your kids at home until they're ready to leave the nest. It's pretty simple.